Adding Spry to your site and adding other interactivity is really quite simple. So let's take a look at our Files panel. And there are a couple of files we'd like to open, and that's About and About End. And also Join and Join End. Okay, so if I take a look at the Join End here, I see a Spry panel. And this couldn't be any simpler putting this together. So if I take a look at this in live view, scroll down so I can actually see it, I see that I've got this great looking little panel here. I click on my next tab, then I can go back and forth without having the end user scroll down any farther on the page. Now on the About one, on the end, we see this nice little menu. And this is a Spry menu, and it works off of an unordered list. And I need to look at this in the live view. And let me scroll over here so I can see it. When I roll my cursor over meetings, for instance, I now see that there are different meetings here in a drop-down. And if I had a third level, that would be easy enough to do as well. So let's look at that. So let's start with about.html, and we're going to get rid of everything that was in here before. So I'm going to go to my code, and I'm going to take that whole entire UL there, and I'm just going to put the word content for now, and I'll go back over to my design view. I want to be able to still select my content inside of that particular area, and in my insert, I'm going to go to Spry and pull down until I find my Spry menu bar. So I'd like it to be horizontal, and I'm going to click OK. And so it's very just basic in look and feel at this point. So I can name it, I give it an item. So for instance, my first item here would be home. And then if I had any secondary items, then they would show up as well. So then I would just continue on naming my items in here and then assigning any secondary or third level page. When I save this, I need to save some little Spry elements. And they end up just like my SWF information over inside of my files, and I would need to make sure that that is uploaded to my site. So you can see that is super easy to put in, and if I look at the code for that, I see my unordered list. It has an ID, and I would need to give it its own special ID, and class menu bar, etc. Now this particular bar already had something styled to it, so I'm going to select that. And I'm going to give it a different class style of alt nav container. So then that will much easier allow me to style this. And if I take a look at my CSS styles and all, then I'm able to see at the bottom there all of my CSS for those particular items. So for instance, I'll scroll up here so I can actually see these. So for the UL itself, the LI, and here I can start making changes. So for instance, if I want that to be a different background color, and I'm just going to choose some crazy color here, and let's say since I've made that darker, I make the text white, and I say OK. Now I've made those change. So all I have to do is go through my actual CSS over here, and I have a new look and feel to my menu. For the Spry panel, it's really just as simple. So for instance, in Join here, I already have the content that I want inside of those panels, but I maybe don't want my client or my end user to have to scroll down to find it. So I'm going to make a little bit of room here, and I'm going to go to my insert, and I'm going to choose Spry tabbed panel. So I get to name my panel initially. So join, and I can scroll back up so I can actually see it. And I've got several different panels here. So for instance, I've got my 1 and a 2, and I'm going to add a third panel on top of that. So now what I have to do is actually name the panels here. So I can put my cursor in there. I could say info 1, and when I click on the little eyeball, then I see the content for that particular panel. So I'm going to cut that out of there, and I will paste that info in here. So I go to my second tab, and that's going to just be more info, and I can click on that, and now I've got my second bit of information that I can put in there. So I'm just cutting that out, and I will paste that in. And that's going to be even more info. Select it, grab my last bit of information here, place that in, and now when I take a look at my live view, I have a panel that I can quickly and easily move between, and it's super easy, and it's just as stylable as the other. All the Spry stuff is really easy to do. Feel free to add some Spry into your page.